In the very corner of our solar system, there is an icy, dark, and rocky planet. According to NASA, this planet is over 3 billion miles away from the Earth and completes its orbit around the Sun in about 90,000 Earth days. You all know this dwarf planet is Pluto, and have probably heard the story of it being demoted from a planet to a dwarf planet. I disagree with the decision to demote it and think that it should be changed. Now, I've always been extremely interested in anything space related and have looked into this topic before, so I think I have a very thorough understanding and can make a good decision on which side is right. Space is a very vast topic with many different parts, and I think if you understand anything space related, it can be beneficial to you. It can really help you understand the vastness and how amazing our universe is. I'll be discussing why Pluto was demoted, what the official definition of a planet is and why it's flawed and should be changed, and finally, the benefits of reinstating Pluto as a planet. It may not seem like you can do a whole lot to change Pluto's status as a planet, but your opinion means a lot and can actually change a lot of decisions when it comes to things like planet status. So you'd be surprised. First, we're going to be discussing why was Pluto demoted in the first place. According to NASA, Pluto was discovered in the 1930s, and for a long time, it was thought to be our solar system's 9th planet. However, its status as a planet was brought into question when other farther out planets were also discovered near where Pluto was orbiting. In fact, the main reason Pluto was demoted was because scientists thought they had found another planet that was larger than Pluto. This planet was named Eris. Now, scientists thought it would make it really confusing if they had to name every single planet or planet-like object that was farther out than Pluto a planet, and it would just make too many planets. This small planet, though, Eris, was later discovered to be smaller than Pluto, which kind of supports the idea that demoting Pluto from a planet to a dwarf planet was not a very thought-out decision, and instead was a temporary solution to a problem that scientists thought they would be having a lot more often. Many scientists heavily disagreed with this decision to demote Pluto, including the current administrator of NASA, and fight to this day to have the decision changed. Now we'll be discussing what the definition of a planet is and why it's flawed and should be changed. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union, or the IAU, which is what I'll be referring to it in the rest of the speech, made the decision to create a formal definition of the word planet. This decision is the main reason that Pluto was demoted in the first place. According to Universe Today, the definition of a planet that was adopted had to meet 3 requirements. These planets had to meet 3 requirements. The 3 requirements were the planet had to be, or object had to be spherical, it had to not be in the orbit of other planets or anything else besides the sun, and it had to clear its orbital path. Now, when they say clear its orbital path, basically that means that the planet has to have strong enough gravity to either bring objects in its orbit into their own orbit or push them out of the way. Now, many scientists thought that this was a very poor decision to make the orbital clearing part of one of the requirements. In fact, a new study led by planetary scientist Philip T. Metzgar states that the literature evidence from the past few years do not support this definition of the word planet. Metzgar goes on to say that the requirement that a planet needs to be able to clear its orbital path was a very poor decision and should not have been included. He says that if you take that requirement literally, then nothing in our solar system, or no planets in our solar systems, would actually be considered planets, because no planet has actually fully cleared its orbital path. He believes that the best metric for deciding what should be considered a planet is whether the planet has enough gravity to reach hydrostatic equilibrium. Now, hydrostatic equilibrium just means that a planet is large enough and has enough gravity that it can form into a sphere, which is a requirement that Pluto meets. Metzgar also argues that excluding Pluto as a planet leaves out one of the most interesting planets in our solar system, which leads me to my last point. What are some of the benefits of reinstating Pluto as a planet? As I discussed earlier, not only are the IAU's definitions flawed but confusing. Creating an entire new subgroup of planets makes it more confusing when you're trying to name other bodies or identify other bodies in our solar system that are farther out. Not only that, but Pluto being named a planet helps people understand its importance. Pluto is an extremely interesting planet that may be sadly overlooked by many people. According to Metzger, with Pluto's active geology, interior ocean, multi-layered atmosphere, and organic compounds, it is the second most geologically complex planet on Earth. It is the most complex geologically planet, right behind Earth, which is surprising because many people believe that Mars actually holds that spot when it does not. We now have the technology to actually discover or to research these planets, which is why public support for these missions is so important and why they believe that the planet should get that importance of being a main planet, because these are how these missions are funded, by people supporting the idea and actually showing that they want this to happen. I've told you why Pluto was demoted in the first place, why the IAU's definition of a planet is flawed and should be changed, and the importance of Pluto being reinstated as a main planet. Pluto is such an interesting planet that often gets overlooked as it is not one of the main and is considered a subclass of planet, which is not something that we should be doing. It would get much more publicity and fame if it was reinstated to its original planethood. That is why I think that the IAU's decision should be changed. Your opinion means a lot to these scientists, so you should let them know that you think that Pluto should be changed back to a planet. Let the world know that you support Pluto.